Hey guys, we're doing another Assorted lore video this week. Our topics have been requested by all of these wonderful people. We're going to go over Draven and the 7 Seals of the Apocalypse from the Darksiders franchise.
First, let's start with Draven. Draven is encountered by Death during the events of Darksiders 2, and by that time he has become known as the Master of Blades in the Court of the Lord of Bones. As one might guess based upon that description, Draven is no longer among the living. Draven is, or was, depending upon your definition, human, and prior to Darksiders 3, one of only 2 humans of importance shown to us in the Darksiders series. Very little concrete information is given about his time among the living, but we can infer based upon comments about how long he's been dead, as well as his general attire and skill with what humanity would now call archaic weaponry, that Draven lived and died when swords, bows, and horses were the premier combat innovations of the day, i.e. Middle Ages or perhaps earlier. We'd make guesses about when or where he lived based upon his accent, but when you look at the series as a whole, you realize accents can't really be helpful at all. The Lord of Bones and Chancellor, for example, have different accents. The Horsemen have different accents from one another. Named demons range in accents. Indeed, the only group that has a universal accent in the whole series is the Makers. So, as for an exact where or when for Draven's time among the living, we really can't say beyond roughly the Middle Ages-ish. Maybe earlier.
We do know several other things about him, though. Draven is an uncommonly skilled combatant. One could presume he prefers swords and knives, as he carries about 5 or 6 of them on his person at all times, not counting those stuck in his body at uncomfortable angles. But he's obviously quite skilled in a broad range of weaponry as well, as he acts as the vendor from which Death learns new and more powerful combat moves across the entire range of weaponry available to the player. We know he is skilled in the art of war for a handful of reasons. First, the aforementioned combat skill vending. Second, we know how Draven acquired the title of Master of Blades. However long ago it was that Draven died, when he passed through the Lord of Bones court, he was given the option to compete in the Crucible. If he prevailed, he was promised that he would be returned to his mortal life. With incredible skill, and given what we know about Draven, likely more than a bit of rage, he battled his way through the Crucible until he stood before the arena's champion, Nashor. A creature either undead, construct, or some combination of both that stands eternal as the final obstacle of the arena. Draven defeated Nashor, quite impressive in any day, especially for a human. From the way he talks to Death during Darksiders 2, we can infer that Draven is not certain he would beat Nashor a second time, however, as evidently Nashor grows in power each time it slays a challenger, and most challengers that face it lose. Meaning it has grown significantly mightier since Draven fought it all those years ago, and as far as we know, Draven is mostly just a very skilled warrior. We can presume he doesn't have magic or any of the many other abilities Death has in his arsenal. Though that is all presumption, it's entirely possible he's learned all manner of new skills while he's been dead.
Now at this point, one might wonder how Draven came to be the Master of Blades in the Lord of Bones' court, if he was supposed to win his lifeblood back once he defeated Nashor. The answer is, in Draven's words, that he was betrayed, that instead of being returned to life, Draven was given a place of honor and presumably responsibility as the Master of Blades. Which sounds all well and good, but there were 2 problems. First, as a member of the court, no matter what rank or privileges it might give him, and no, we have no idea what they might be, assuming that there are any, he is inherently subservient to the Lord of Bones. What makes that a problem, you ask? Well, it turns out in life, Draven never once bent a knee to any mortal king. Whether that was because he was simply a great enough warrior to avoid it through some combination of pride, avoidance, and power, or because he himself was some kind of king or lord on Earth is unknown. But what we do know is that his plan, upon returning to life, was to lead an army to conquer the Earth in its entirety. He was a great man in life, an arrogant and ambitious one in both life and death, and now not only is he, for the first time in his existence, forced to bend a knee to a king. For some reason, he considers the Lord of Bones less than any of the mortal human kings of Earth, and so it irks him all the more. Because of this, he spends his time finding ways to annoy, bother, frustrate, or even cause the Lord of Bones harm, while quietly fulfilling his duties, presumably so as not to be caught. For example, he gives Death a quest to go around and slay the Bloodless, a variety of undead twisted and corrupted to become something unique and special. Why does he ask Death to do this? The reason is simple. The Bloodless are favorite pets of the Lord of Bones, and their deaths displease him, which means that Draven gets nothing but smiles and warm feelings when the same thing happens. Indeed, it would seem that, for the time being, Draven lives primarily for revenge. The flavor text for the Dark Avenger, a weapon the player can acquire during Darksiders 2 that previously belonged to Draven, speaks of it absorbing Draven's rage and thirst for revenge, inferring his original death may also have been due to betrayal, until it became what it is today, a weapon with a thirst for blood and carnage. In a similar vein, when the Bloodless quest is completed, Death, knowing that Draven considers his current unlife worse than the death he had tried to avoid, offers to free Draven of his torment, presumably by killing him. But Draven declines, telling Death conspiratorially that he will live on until he has taken either the Lord of Bones' head or his crown. He lives now simply to get his revenge or see the Lord of Bones undone. It should also be noted that there is an image on the door to the Well of Souls. Each of them have the same depictions, whether it be the Tree of Life, Tree of Death on any of the planets, that clearly show Lilith alongside a figure that bears a striking resemblance to Draven, minus the blade stuck in his body. Because of this, it has been theorized by the fanbase that there is some kind of connection between Draven and Lilith, but we have literally no concrete information to say whether or not such a connection actually exists. The figure in the relief next to Lilith definitely looks like Draven, but it could simply be a different cloaked figure as well.
That's about all we know about Draven, so let's move on to the 7 Seals of the Apocalypse. In Darksiders lore, the 7 seals are real, physical objects rather than the metaphorical or symbolic seals that biblical scholars may be familiar with. In the Darksiders universe, the 7 seals are essentially the physical contract that acts as proof of the pact forged by the Charred Council between heaven and hell. For those unfamiliar, here's a quick recap of that whole situation. The angels and demons have battled across creation for eons untold, each always trying to completely annihilate the other. The Charred Council, a body given authority and power by the Creator itself to ensure the balance of reality is maintained, came to the conclusion that this continued war between heaven and hell threatened to ruin the balance of creation if the two factions were left unchecked. So, the Council moderated heaven and hell to ensure that this did not happen. Somewhere amidst all of this, the race of humanity came to be, and the Charred Council proclaimed that the race of man would one day play a pivotal role in regards to the balance. However, if heaven and hell continued their rampaging war, humanity would be in danger, especially since both sides now knew of humanity's overall importance. Because of this, the Charred Council forced heaven and hell to make a pact, a truce, sealed by the 7 seals of the Apocalypse. The pact proclaimed that neither heaven nor hell would wage war with one another, and that neither side would interfere with the development of mankind. This truce and stalemate situation was to remain in place until such time as humanity, weak and primitive by comparison to the much older races of angels and demons, had grown and evolved to the point that they were able to stand on equal footing with heaven and hell. When that time came, and the forces of the angels, demons, and mankind were balanced, the 7 seals would be broken, signaling that the time for the end war, the apocalypse, had come. The idea being that the fate of the 3 races, the 3 kingdoms, would be settled then and there, and that whatever the outcome, balance would have been assured.
Those familiar with the Darksiders games know that things didn't turn out that way. For more information on what went wrong, go ahead and check out our videos on Abaddon, Ulthane, Azrael, or even the first episode of our Darksiders 1 Let's Play. Short version, things didn't go according to plan. Now, in regards to the seals themselves, there are 7 of them. Presumably each one of them have a different power and purpose. We know the powers of at least 2 of them, but the rest we aren't sure about. The seal we know the most about is the final seal, the 7th seal. The 7th seal summons the Horsemen to Earth for the Apocalypse, but this is more than just a summoning spell in a box. The games have shown that no matter what a Horseman's current locale, or even whether they are alive or dead, the 4 Horsemen will be revived and summoned to the battleground once the 7th seal has been broken. We also know, based upon discussions between Abaddon, Azrael, and Ulthane, that at least one of the seals summons the demons to declare battle rights. We assume, therefore, that either that seal or another one does the same for the angels. We also know that almost all of the Maker's Wardens, giant stone golems with the hearts of Makers, were summoned to the End War in this process, so presumably one of the seals performs that function as well. We presume 1 seal per racial summon, so that's 1 each for the Horsemen, Angels, Demons, and Wardens, leaving 3 seals with an unknown purpose. But that part is purely conjecture. It's entirely possible, even likely, given the power displayed by the 7th seal, that 1 seal summons all of the pertinent races and combatants, and each of the others does something else entirely. Beyond that, we really don't know what each of the seals does. We can guess based off of their appearances, but guesses are all they would be. And unfortunately, the biblical seals are no help in guessing either, since, for those unfamiliar, biblically speaking, the 4 horsemen are themselves the first 4 seals, which throws guessing accuracy right out the window immediately. But for those curious, biblically speaking, the 3 remaining seals after the 4 horsemen depict the sacrifices and persecutions of early Christians. Things did not go well for them immediately after Christ's death. The catastrophic events, presumably geological, earthquakes, tornadoes, etc., leading to the last days, and the second coming of the Savior respectively. But for Darksiders continuity, beyond those specific summonings, we don't know what the seals actually do. Initially, we presumed that one or more of them sort of announced the apocalypse had begun on a reality-wide scale, but if that was the case, then Abaddon's plan to do things early and not get caught would have been foiled from the start. So that seems unlikely. But if nothing else, we can presume to know what 4 out of the 7 seals do.
And that's basically what we know about Draven and the 7 Seals of the Apocalypse. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave us a like. And if you have ideas for topics you'd like to see us do in the future, do like all of these wonderful people, and let us know in the comments down below. If you'd like to see more videos from us in the future, be they lore or Let's Play, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.
In the meantime, this has been True Masters and Morons, signing off.
Thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like it, hit this subscribe orb.
To see our last Let's Play, click or tap the link on the right.
For our last lore video, go to the link on the left.
And for a video chosen by the gods of YouTube from our channel, hit that link on top.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.